この動画は、英語での会話を継続していくためには、相手に良い質問をして、会話の流れをつかむことが重要という視点から、英語での質問力強化に焦点を当てています。実際、英会話で講師の前で黙り込んでしまう人の中には、自分が質問したいことがうまく英語にならずに困っている人がたくさんいます。そんな人たちのために、フォーマルからカジュアルな場面まで使える72種類の質問を用意しました。実際の質問の例文はさらに細分化しているので、この動画だけで数百の英語表現を覚えられます。また、各セクションには実際の会話での使用例をシミュレーションした動画もついているので参考にしてください。それでは、始めましょう。
What do you do for a living? What is your job? What kind of work do you do? What's your occupation?
Hi, nice to meet you. What do you do for a living?
Nice to meet you too. I'm a software engineer. How about you?
What do you usually do on weekends? What do you normally do on weekends? How do you usually spend your weekends? What do you tend to do on weekends?
So, what do you usually do on weekends?
I like to go hiking or watch movies at home. How about you?
What kind of movies do you like? What types of movies do you enjoy? What genre of movies do you prefer? What's your favorite type of movie?
Do you watch movies often?
Yeah, I love movies.
What kind of movies do you like?
I'm really into thrillers and sci-fi. How about you?
What was your favorite scene in the movie? Which part of the movie did you like the most? Was there a scene in the movie that stood out to you? What moment in the movie did you enjoy the most? Is there a particular scene from the movie that you really liked?
So, did you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing.
What was your favorite scene in the movie?
Definitely the part where the main character finally confronts the villain. It was so intense.
May I ask about your family? Can I ask about your family? Is it okay if I ask about your family? Would you mind if I asked about your family?
So, we've talked a lot about work. Can I ask about your family?
Of course. What would you like to know?
Where are you from? Where do you come from? May I ask where you're from? Could you tell me where you're from? Where did you grow up? Are you originally from here? What's your hometown?
Can I ask where you're from?
Sure. I'm originally from New York, but I've been living in London for a few years.
What TV shows did you watch as a kid? What kind of shows did you like to watch when you were little? Did you have a favorite TV show growing up? Can I ask what TV shows you used to watch as a child? What television programs did you enjoy when you were younger? Were there any TV shows you loved when you were a kid? What shows bring back memories from your childhood?
Hey, what kind of shows did you watch when you were a kid?
Mostly cartoons. I was a big fan of Dragon Ball.
Why did you come to Japan? What brought you to Japan? How did you end up in Japan? Can I ask why you decided to come to Japan? What made you decide to move to Japan? Why did you choose Japan? Is there a particular reason you came to Japan? Was there something specific that brought you to Japan? What inspired you to come to Japan?
Hey, I was wondering, why did you come to Japan?
Oh, I came here to study. I'm really into Japanese art and history.
How long have you been in Japan? How long have you stayed in Japan so far? How long have you been living here? May I ask how long you've been in Japan? How long have you been residing in Japan? Have you been in Japan for a long time? How many years have you been in Japan? Is this your first time in Japan, or have you been here a while?
Hey, how long have you been living in Japan?
Oh, it's been 6 months now.
What interests you about Japan? What do you find fascinating about Japan? What do you like the most about Japan? May I ask what interests you about Japan? What aspects of Japan are you most interested in? Is there anything specific about Japan that fascinates you? What made you interested in Japan in the first place? Are there particular things about Japan that caught your attention? What drew you to Japan initially?
Hey, what made you so interested in Japan?
Honestly, it started with anime when I was a kid. But now, I'm into the food and festivals too.
What do you think about the Japanese custom of taking off your shoes at the entrance? How do you feel about removing your shoes before entering a house in Japan? Do you like the idea of taking off your shoes at the doorway in Japan? May I ask what you think of the tradition of removing shoes at the entrance in Japan? What's your opinion on the Japanese practice of taking off shoes indoors? How do you find the Japanese custom of leaving shoes at the entrance?
So, have you noticed that everyone takes off their shoes before entering the house in Japan?
Yeah, it was one of the first things I learned when I got here.
What do you think about how Japanese people bow so often? How do you feel about bowing as a common gesture in Japan? What's your opinion on the Japanese custom of bowing? May I ask what you think of the tradition of bowing in Japan? How do you find the practice of bowing in Japanese culture? What's your perspective on the importance of bowing in Japan? Do you think bowing is a good way to show respect? What stands out to you about how bowing is used in Japan? Is there anything about bowing in Japan that you find unique or interesting?
Have you noticed how often Japanese people bow?
Oh, yeah. It's so different from where I'm from.
Do you want to grab lunch together? How about having lunch together? Want to join me for lunch? Feel like getting lunch with me? Let's have lunch together. Would you like to have lunch with me? Shall we have lunch together? Would you be interested in grabbing lunch together? Are you free for lunch today? Let's eat together. There's a nice place nearby. Want to try it for lunch? I was thinking of grabbing lunch. Care to join me? Lunch break? Let's eat together. Hey, I'm heading out for lunch. Want to come along? Got any lunch plans? If not, let's eat together. Hey, are you free for lunch today?
Yeah, I think so. What do you have in mind?
Which one do you feel like eating, ramen or sushi? Would you prefer ramen or sushi? What do you want, ramen or sushi? Ramen or sushi? Which one are you in the mood for? If you had to choose, would you go for ramen or sushi? What would you prefer for lunch, ramen or sushi? Which would you like more today, ramen or sushi? Tough choice, but which one do you want today, ramen or sushi? So, ramen or sushi, what's your pick? I'm starving. What should we eat?
Same here. Any ideas?
How about ramen or sushi? Which one do you feel like eating?
Sushi sounds good today.
Have you ever tried natto? Have you ever eaten natto? Have you had the chance to try natto before? Have you ever had natto before? Have you ever given natto a try? Have you ever tasted natto? Have you ever been brave enough to try natto? So, have you experienced natto yet? May I ask if you've ever eaten natto before?
I haven't actually. I've heard about it though. Isn't it the fermented soybeans?
Do you know how to use chopsticks? Can you use chopsticks? Do you know how to handle chopsticks? May I ask if you know how to use chopsticks? Are you familiar with how to use chopsticks? Have you learned how to use chopsticks? Can you manage chopsticks? How are you with chopsticks? Are you good at using chopsticks? Do you find using chopsticks easy or tricky? Have you ever tried eating with chopsticks?
Hey, have you ever used chopsticks before?
Yeah, a few times, but I'm not very good at it.
What is a popular food in your country? What kinds of food are popular in your country? Could you tell me what food is popular in your country? What are some typical dishes that people in your country enjoy? What's a must-try dish from your country? What's the go-to food in your country? If I visited your country, what food should I try? What's the signature dish of your country?
I've always wanted to visit your country. By the way, what's a popular food there?
Oh, there are so many. But I'd say pizza is one of the most popular dishes.
Did you enjoy the meal? How was the food? Was everything to your liking? Did you like what you had? What did you think of the meal? I hope the meal was satisfactory. Was everything all right? How did you find the food? Did everything meet your expectations? Was the meal to your satisfaction? So, how was your lunch? Thumbs up? Did the food hit the spot? Hope you enjoyed the meal. What do you think? Was the portion size okay for you? Would you recommend this to someone else?
So, how was your lunch? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was great. The pasta was perfect.
What sports do you like? Are you into any sports? Do you have a favorite sport? What kind of sports do you enjoy? Do you play any sports? May I ask what sports you enjoy? What kind of sports do you like to watch or play? Could you tell me what your favorite sport is? Are you a fan of any sports? Which sports are you into these days? Do you follow any sports?
Do you have a favorite sport?
Yeah, I really enjoy swimming. It's so relaxing.
What sports did you play when you were a kid? Did you play any sports growing up? What sports were you into as a kid? What kind of sports did you enjoy as a child? When you were younger, did you play any sports? May I ask what sports you played when you were a child? Could you tell me what kind of sports you enjoyed in your youth? What were some of your favorite sports as a kid? Were you active in any sports when you were growing up?
Did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, I played tennis and went to gymnastics classes.
What did you want to be when you were a kid? Did you have a dream job as a child? When you were little, what did you dream of becoming? What was your childhood dream? As a kid, did you have any big dreams? May I ask what you dreamed of becoming when you were a child? Could you tell me what your childhood dream was? What kind of goals did you have when you were younger? Did you ever have a big dream as a kid? What did you imagine yourself doing when you grew up?
What did you want to be when you were a kid?
I wanted to be an astronaut. I was fascinated by space.
What's the most impactful book you've ever read? Is there a book that really left a strong impression on you? What's the most memorable book you've read? Which book has inspired you the most? Do you have a favorite book that really moved you? Could you share the most impactful book you've ever read? What book has had the biggest influence on you? May I ask which book has left a lasting impression on you? Is there a book that's stuck with you over the years? What's a book that you'd say changed your perspective on something?
What's the most impactful book you've ever read?
I'd say To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee.
What are you most into these days? What's caught your attention recently? What's your latest obsession? Is there something you're really into right now? What's been keeping you interested these days? May I ask what you're currently most interested in? Could you share what has been capturing your interest lately? What would you say you're most passionate about at the moment? What's been your biggest interest recently? Is there anything that's really sparked your curiosity lately?
What's your latest obsession?
Oh, it's definitely baking. I've been trying out all sorts of bread recipes lately.
Are there any places in Japan you'd like to visit? What's on your Japan travel bucket list? Is there a tourist spot in Japan you're dying to see? Where in Japan would you love to explore? Got any must-visit destinations in Japan? Do you have any specific places in Japan you'd like to visit? Is there a particular location in Japan you've always wanted to see? May I ask if there's a Japanese destination you're interested in visiting? Are there any famous spots in Japan that you'd like to check out? If you could visit any place in Japan, where would it be? What's the one place in Japan you wouldn't want to miss? Have you thought about which places in Japan you'd like to explore?
Have you been enjoying your stay in Japan?
Yes, it's been amazing. The food and culture are incredible.
That's wonderful. Is there a tourist spot in Japan you're excited to visit?
I've been thinking about going to Hokkaido. I've heard the scenery there is breathtaking.
What do you usually do to relax when you're tired? How do you like to unwind after a long day? Got any go-to ways to chill out when you're feeling exhausted? What's your favorite way to recharge when you're worn out? How do you de-stress when life gets hectic? May I ask how you prefer to relax after a busy day? What's your usual way of relieving stress when you're tired? Is there a specific way you like to relax when you're feeling fatigued? How do you take care of yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed? When you're tired, what helps you feel better? Do you have a go-to method for relaxing after a tough day? What's your secret for staying calm when you're stressed?
You seem a little tired today. Long day?
Yeah, it's been pretty hectic. I could really use some rest.
How do you usually unwind when you're feeling drained?
I like to curl up with a good book or watch a movie. It helps me forget about the stress.
Do you have any recommended self-help books? Any good self-improvement books you'd suggest? Got any must-read self-help books? What's your top pick for a self-help book? Could you recommend any self-help books? Do you know of any good self-improvement books? I'm looking for self-help books. Do you have any suggestions? Would you happen to have any recommendations for self-help books? What self-help books have you found really useful? Any self-improvement books that you'd recommend to someone looking to grow?
I've been thinking about improving myself lately, but I'm not sure where to start.
That's a great mindset. Do you have any recommended self-help books?
Well, one of my favorites is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's all about how small habits can lead to big changes.
I've heard of that one. It sounds interesting. Do you have any other suggestions?
What do you find most challenging about your job? What's the most difficult part of your work? What aspect of your job do you find the hardest? What's the toughest thing about your job? What do you struggle with the most at work? What part of your job presents the greatest challenge for you? What do you consider the most challenging aspect of your profession?
You seem really dedicated to your work. What do you do for a living?
I'm a project manager in the tech industry. It keeps me on my toes.
That sounds like a demanding role. What do you find most challenging about your job?
Definitely managing tight deadlines while ensuring the team stays motivated. It's a balancing act.
How did you land your current job? How did you come across your job? What's the story behind finding your current job? How did you find your current position? How did you end up working in your current role? What led you to your current job? May I ask how you found your current job? Could you share how you came to work in your current position?
You seem really passionate about your job. What do you do?
I'm a graphic designer for a marketing agency.
That's awesome. How did you land your current job?
Actually, I found it through a recommendation from a friend. She knew the hiring manager and thought I'd be a good fit.
By the way, do you like traveling? So, are you into traveling? Oh, by the way, are you a fan of traveling? May I ask, do you enjoy traveling? Do you like traveling by any chance? Do you enjoy going on trips? Are you someone who loves to travel? Do you like exploring new places?
So, are you someone who loves to travel?
Oh, absolutely. I love exploring new places and experiencing different cultures. How about you?
Have you ever been to New York? Have you visited New York before? Have you ever checked out New York? Have you made it to New York yet? Have you had the chance to visit New York? Have you ever had the opportunity to go to New York?
Have you ever been to New York?
Yes, I went there last summer. It was amazing.
Is it easy to live in this country? Do you find this country easy to live in? How is life in this country? Is it comfortable? Would you say this country is easy to settle in?
So, how are you finding life here? Is it easy to live in this country?
Actually, it's been great so far. The people are friendly, and everything is pretty convenient.
What do you think are the strengths of Japanese people? In your opinion, what qualities make Japanese people unique? How would you describe the positive traits of Japanese people? What do you admire most about Japanese culture and its people? What characteristics of Japanese people stand out to you? Could you share your thoughts on the admirable qualities of Japanese people?
I've been really impressed by Japanese people's hospitality during my trip here.
That's nice to hear. Japanese people do take pride in their hospitality.
Absolutely. By the way, what do you think are the strengths of Japanese people?
I'd say it's their attention to detail and dedication to teamwork. What do you think?
What do you think are the weaknesses of Japanese people? In your opinion, what are the downsides of Japanese people's characteristics? Are there any traits of Japanese people that you think could be improved? What do you think Japanese people struggle with the most? Do you think there are any areas where Japanese people could do better?
I've always admired how polite and hardworking Japanese people are.
Thank you. Those are traits we take pride in.
But, if I may ask, what do you think are some weaknesses of Japanese people?
That's an interesting question. I'd say we can be too hesitant to express our opinions directly.
Do you know any Japanese phrases? Are there any Japanese expressions you're familiar with? Can you say any phrases in Japanese? Do you happen to know any Japanese words or phrases? Have you learned any Japanese phrases before?
So, I heard you're planning a trip to Japan next year.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've always wanted to visit.
That's great. Do you know any Japanese phrases? They might come in handy.
Let me think. I know arigato and konnichiwa. That's about it.
Do you speak any languages other than English? Are you fluent in any other languages besides English? Can you speak any other languages apart from English? Do you happen to know any other languages besides English? What other languages do you speak besides English?
Your English is really good. Have you been speaking it for a long time?
Thank you. I've been learning it since I was a kid.
How did you learn a foreign language? Can you tell me how you learned another language? What's your method for learning a foreign language? Could you share how you mastered a foreign language? How did you become fluent in another language?
I heard you're fluent in French. That's amazing.
Thanks! It took a lot of effort, but it was worth it.
Could you tell me how you mastered a foreign language like French?
Sure. I lived in France for a few years and immersed myself in the culture. Plus, I practiced every day. Are there any good places to shop around here on the weekend? Do you know any good shopping spots nearby for the weekend? Where's a good place to go shopping around here this weekend? Can you recommend any good shopping areas near here for the weekend? Are there any popular shopping spots close by for the weekend? Hey, I'm new to the area and was wondering if you could help me.
Sure. What do you need?
Are there any good places to shop around here on the weekend?
Oh, definitely. There's a big mall about 10 minutes away. It has a lot of stores and a food court.
Are there any supermarkets nearby that stay open late? Do you know if there are any late-night supermarkets around here? Is there a supermarket near here that's open late at night? Can you recommend a supermarket nearby that's open late? Are there any grocery stores around here that are open late? I was wondering, are there any supermarkets nearby that stay open late?
Yes, there's one just down the street. It's open until midnight.
Are there any 24-hour gyms around here? Do you know if there's a 24-hour gym nearby? Is there a gym around here that's open 24/7? Can you recommend any gyms in this area that are open 24 hours? I am looking for a gym nearby. Do you know if there's a 24-hour gym around here?
Yes, there's one just a couple of blocks away. It's called Fit 24, and it's open 24/7.
Do you know any stores where I can buy household items cheaply? Are there any places around here to get affordable household goods? Can you recommend a store that sells household items at a low price? Where can I find inexpensive household items nearby? Do you know of any budget-friendly stores for household essentials? Do you know any stores where I can buy household items cheaply?
Oh, yes. There's a store called Budget Mart about 10 minutes from here. They have great deals on household essentials.
Do you prefer sweet or spicy foods? Are you more into sweet flavors or spicy ones? Would you say you have a sweet tooth or a taste for spicy food? Do you lean more towards sweet or spicy? Hey, we're ordering food for the party. Do you have any preferences?
Not really. What kind of food are you thinking?
Well, I was wondering, are you more of a sweet tooth or do you prefer spicy food?
Oh, definitely spicy. I can't resist a good curry or hot wings.
Do you know any places with a beautiful night view? Are there any good spots around here to see the night view? Can you recommend a place with a great night view? Where's a good place to enjoy the night view around here? Hey, do you know any good places to visit around here?
There's a great park nearby with a nice view of the city. Why do you ask?
I was thinking of going somewhere with a beautiful night view. Do you know any places with a great night view?
Oh, definitely. There's a rooftop bar downtown with an amazing view of the skyline. It's perfect at night.
Do you know how to make a hospital appointment online? Are you familiar with how to book a doctor's appointment through the web? Do you know how to schedule a hospital visit online?
I need to make an appointment with a doctor. Do you know how to schedule a hospital visit online?
Yes, I do. Many hospitals nowadays allow you to book appointments online through their websites or apps.
Have you started anything new recently? Is there anything new you've started doing lately? What's something new you've picked up recently? Have you taken up any new hobbies or activities lately?
By the way, have you started anything new recently?
Actually, yes. I started taking yoga classes last month. It's been really relaxing.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? Where would you choose to live if you could pick any place? If you had the chance to live anywhere, where would you want to go? If location weren't an issue, where would you like to live? If you could move anywhere, what would be your dream location?
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
That's a tough question. Maybe somewhere by the ocean, like Hawaii or the Maldives.
Nice choice. I can imagine waking up to the sound of the waves every day.
Exactly. How about you? Where would you want to live?
Do you think learning English is easier than learning other languages? Would you say that learning English is simpler compared to other languages? In your opinion, is learning English easier than studying other languages? Do you believe English is less challenging to learn than other languages?
You've studied a few languages, right?
Yeah. I've learned a bit of Spanish and French, and of course, English.
Do you think learning English is easier than learning other languages?
I think it depends. English grammar is simpler in some ways, but the pronunciation can be tricky.
What are you looking forward to this year? Is there anything you're excited about this year? What plans or events are you most excited about this year? Do you have anything special planned for this year?
So, How's your year going so far?
Not too bad. Just getting back into the routine after the holidays. What about you?
Same here. By the way, what are you looking forward to this year?
Oh, I'm really excited about my summer trip to Italy. It's been on my bucket list for years.
If you could have any superpower, which one would you choose? What superpower would you want if you could have any? If you could gain any superpower, what would it be? Which superpower would you pick if you had the choice?
If you could have any superpower, which one would you choose?
That's a fun question. I think I'd want the ability to teleport. It would save so much time.
How do you address challenges in your industry? What strategies do you use to handle challenges in your field? How do you approach solving problems in your line of work?
Thank you for sharing your insights about your industry. It sounds really dynamic.
Yes, it is. There are always new trends and challenges to keep up with.
Speaking of challenges, how do you address challenges in your industry?
That's a great question. We focus on staying adaptable by investing in training and technology.
Have you been following any interesting news lately? Are you keeping up with any interesting news recently? Have you heard any interesting news recently? Is there any exciting news you've been following lately? What interesting news have you come across recently?
By the way, have you been following any interesting news lately?
Actually, yes. I've been reading about some breakthroughs in AI technology. It's fascinating how quickly things are advancing.
What do you find most rewarding about your work? What's the most fulfilling part of your job? What gives you the greatest sense of satisfaction in your work? What do you enjoy the most about what you do? What aspect of your job do you find the most meaningful?
You seem really passionate about your job. That's inspiring.
Thanks. I do enjoy what I do.
What do you find most rewarding about your work?
I'd say it's seeing how my efforts directly help our clients solve their problems. It's such a great feeling.
What made you decide to start your current job? How did you get started in your current role? What inspired you to pursue your current career? Why did you choose to work in your current field? What led you to take on your current position?
You've been doing this job for a while now, right?
Yes, it's been about 5 years. Time really flies.
That's impressive. What made you decide to start your current job?
Well, I've always been passionate about technology, and this role gave me the chance to work on innovative projects. Plus, I like the company's vision.
Have you ever experienced any surprising or funny moments at work? What's the most unexpected or humorous thing that has happened to you at work? Have there been any moments at work that made you laugh or caught you off guard? Can you think of a time when something funny or surprising happened at work? What's the funniest or most surprising thing you've encountered while working?
Work can be so unpredictable sometimes, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's always full of surprises.
Have you ever experienced any surprising or funny moments at work?
Oh, yes. One time, I was giving a presentation, and suddenly the projector stopped working. I panicked for a second, but then my colleague just walked over, gave it a little tap, and it started working again. Everyone laughed about how simple the solution was.
Is there anything you do regularly for your health? Do you have any habits you've been keeping up with for your health? What do you do to stay healthy? Do you have any routines? Are there any activities you do consistently to maintain your health? Do you follow any health routines or practices?
You seem to have so much energy lately. What's your secret?
Haha, thanks. I guess it's just a matter of staying active and eating well.
That's great. Is there anything you do regularly for your health?
Yeah, I've been sticking to a morning yoga routine for the past few months. It really helps me start the day feeling energized.
Are you a coffee person, a tea person, or do you prefer something else? Do you prefer coffee, tea, or something else to drink? Which do you prefer, coffee, tea, or something different? Are you more of a coffee drinker, tea drinker, or do you have another favorite? Do you usually go for coffee, tea, or another beverage?
I'm getting so sleepy in the afternoon. I really need something to wake me up.
I know that feeling. What do you usually drink for a pick-me-up?
I usually go for coffee. How about you?
I'm more of a tea person, actually. A nice cup of green tea does the trick for me.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you hope to be doing in 5 years? How do you envision your life in 5 years? What are your goals for the next 5 years? Where do you want to be in your career 5 years from now?
You've been working here for a while now. Have you thought about your future?
Yes, I've been thinking about it a lot lately.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I hope to be in a managerial position, leading a team and working on bigger projects. How about you?
How do you handle setbacks or failures? How do you cope with challenges or failures? What's your approach to dealing with setbacks or disappointments? How do you deal with failure or obstacles? When you face failure, how do you usually respond?
I've been feeling a bit down lately after a few projects didn't go as planned.
I understand how that feels. It can be tough when things don't work out.
Yeah, it's hard not to get discouraged. How do you handle setbacks or failures?
When I face failure, I try to take a step back and learn from it. I remind myself that setbacks are just part of the process. It helps me stay focused and move forward.
When do you feel the happiest in life? What moments in life make you feel the most joy? What brings you the greatest happiness in life? What are the moments in your life when you feel truly happy? When do you experience the most happiness in your life?
Life has its ups and downs, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But those happy moments really make it all worth it.
Speaking of which, when do you feel the happiest in life?
I'd say it's when I'm spending quality time with my family. There's nothing quite like sharing a meal or laughing together. What about you?
How do you maintain a work-life balance? What's your approach to balancing work and personal life? How do you manage to keep work and life in balance? Do you have any tips for maintaining a healthy work-life balance? How do you make time for both your work and personal life?
You always seem so calm and organized. How do you do it?
Thanks for saying that. But trust me, it's not always easy.
I can imagine. How do you maintain a work-life balance?
Well, I make it a point to set boundaries. For example, I try not to check work emails after 6 p.m. And I make sure to spend time with my family or do things I enjoy, like going for a walk.
What has been the biggest challenge in your life, and how did you overcome it? Can you tell me about the most significant challenge you faced and how you dealt with it? What's the toughest challenge you've ever encountered, and how did you get through it? What is the biggest obstacle you've overcome in your life, and how did you manage it? Could you share a major challenge you faced and how you handled it?
Everyone faces challenges at some point in life.
That's true. It's how we handle them that really matters.
So, what's the biggest challenge you faced, and how did you overcome it?
I'd say it was losing my job a few years ago. It felt like everything was falling apart.
Is this your first time in this city? Have you visited this city before, or is it your first time? Is this the first time you've come to this city? Have you ever been to this city, or is it your first visit? Is it your first time exploring this city?
Wow, this city is amazing. I can't believe how much there is to see.
I know, right? It's one of my favorite places to visit.
Is this your first time in this city?
Yes, it is. I've always heard great things about it, but this is my first time here.
How is this place different from what you expected? Is this place what you imagined, or is it different from what you thought? How does this place compare to what you had in mind? Is this place different from what you were expecting? How does this place match up with your expectations?
This place is so interesting. I didn't expect it to be so lively.
Yeah, it's definitely more vibrant than I thought it would be.
How is this place different from what you expected?
I thought it would be quieter and more touristy, but it's full of locals going about their daily routines. The vibe is really unique.
What do you feel like doing first? What's the first thing you want to do? What do you want to start with? What's on your mind to do first? What's the first thing you'd like to do?
We've finally made it here. There's so much to do.
I know, it's exciting.
So, what do you feel like doing first?
Maybe we could grab a coffee and plan out the rest of the day?
Do you want to check out some local shops, or should we look for a place to eat? Would you rather browse the local stores or find somewhere to grab a bite? Should we explore some local shops, or do you feel like looking for a restaurant? Do you want to wander around the shops, or should we search for something to eat? Would you prefer to visit the local stores first, or should we focus on finding food?
This area looks so lively. There's so much to do.
I know. I'm not sure where to start.
Do you want to check out some local shops, or should we look for a place to eat?
I'm starting to get a little hungry. Maybe we should find something to eat first?
Do you think there are any hidden gems around here? Are there any secret spots in this area that we should check out? Do you think we could find any underrated places nearby? Are there any off-the-beaten-path locations around here worth visiting? Do you think this area has any lesser-known but amazing spots?
This neighborhood looks so charming. There must be a lot to discover.
Yeah, it has that vibe. It feels like there's more than just the usual tourist spots.
Do you think there are any hidden gems around here?
Probably. I read about a small cafe that's famous for its homemade pies. It's not on the main street, though.
What do you think of the vibe of this city so far? How do you feel about the atmosphere here so far? What's your impression of this city's vibe so far? How does the feel of this place strike you so far? What's your take on the atmosphere of this town so far?
I'm glad we decided to visit this place. It's so different from where we've been before.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same.
So, what do you think of the vibe of this city so far?
Honestly, I love it. It's got such a relaxed and friendly atmosphere. How about you?
I wonder how the locals here have fun. How do you think people around here enjoy themselves? What do you think locals do for fun in this city? How do the local people usually spend their free time here? Have you noticed what locals do to enjoy life in this town?
This place is so lively, but I wonder what the locals do for fun around here.
Good question. Maybe they hang out at the local parks or visit those cool cafes we saw earlier.
This looks interesting. Want to check it out? This place looks cool. Should we take a look? It seems like something fun here. Want to go take a look? This looks pretty exciting. How about we check it out? This seems fun. Do you want to go explore it?
This looks cool. Should we take a look?
Definitely. Let's see what it's all about.
Do you prefer exploring on foot or using the local transportation? Which do you like better, walking around to explore or taking the local transit? Are you more into walking and exploring, or do you prefer using public transportation? Would you rather explore on foot or take the local transport to get around? Do you enjoy walking around to discover a place, or do you like using the local transport?
This city looks amazing. There's so much to explore.
I know, right? I'm excited to check it all out.
Do you prefer exploring on foot or using the local transportation?
I actually love walking around and discovering places. You get to see so much more that way.
What's the strangest thing you've seen in this city so far? What's the weirdest thing you've come across in this town? What's the most unusual thing you've seen around here? What's the oddest thing you've noticed in this city? What's the most bizarre thing you've seen so far in this town?
I'm really enjoying this city, but I've seen some pretty unusual things.
Oh, tell me about it. What's the weirdest thing you've come across so far?
Well, I saw a store selling giant rubber ducks. It was totally unexpected.
What do you think this place will be like in 10 years? How do you think this place will change in the next 10 years? Where do you see this place in 10 years? How do you imagine this place will look in 10 years? What do you think this place will evolve into over the next 10 years?
This place is growing so fast. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it's changing.
What do you think this place will be like in 10 years?
I imagine it'll be even more developed. Maybe there'll be more modern buildings and a lot of new businesses.
What was the best thing that happened to you today? What was the highlight of your day today? What was the best part of your day? What made your day the best today? What was the most exciting thing that happened today?
How was your day today?
It was such a great day. I spent the whole day just walking around the city.
That sounds nice. What was the best thing that happened to you today?
Well, I wasn't really expecting much, but I stumbled upon this tiny, hidden garden in the middle of the city. It was so peaceful and beautiful, with all these flowers and little paths. I had no idea it was even there.
ご視聴ありがとうございました。少しでも役に立った方はチャンネル登録と高評価をお願いします。